What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the ABJ Podcast. This is episode 106. As my microphone and my camera won't stop moving around on me. Full disclosure, once again, recording in the month of October, stockpiling all these episodes. So everything you're hearing now is a snapshot from the month of October. Things are going on for me. I'm going to be taking some time away after the month of October, but you're going to keep seeing content from now till early into 2024. So hang with me, and we will be back very soon when it comes to maybe a live aspect or a different style of the show altogether. Just out here grinding, trying to get my shit back together and having some fun while I do it. There's going to be some other content you're going to see still popping up and stuff we're doing. I'm very excited for. So you might hear some stuff that happened previously in the past, or you might hear some snapshots of things we're talking about. And you're like, but it doesn't make sense. Just give you the heads up now. Kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. Everything's fake. It's pro wrestling. But I said the word. But Jorge Guapo is somebody who I've got to know, and I called him George for like 6 months because I was ribbing him. I don't know if he ever caught on to it. We'll find out. But so I met him at the Sanctuary. He is a young talent coming out of there. Right now, that's pretty much all he's working. He has made some appearances, his first appearance somewhere else besides here, WXWC4. But it's going to be a name you're going to see a lot. I feel like he has a really strong work ethic, and he's going to be somebody in that group of people that you're going to see snapshots of, or I touch back in every year or every 6 to 8 months just to kind of check in and see what he's doing. We get to call a lot of his matches at the Sanctuary, but very, very upstart, very, very promising. Very excited to see what his future is. But if you want to support myself, links below. Grab some ABJ podcast merch. If you do buy anything or support in any way, take a screenshot of it and tell me you bought a shirt, or when it comes in, take a picture of it. All that stuff super dope, and it helps take the name out there, and you help put the name out there for the podcast, as well as follow me on all social media, as well as my guest. Support them in all their social medias. And I'm trying to think anything else that I want to put out. TeePublic has all the merchandise that you're going to look for if you want a certain logo or a certain design. All the other ones kind of just have a base idea. Like Teespring has just like 1 or 2 different logos, but has more variety of different clothing options, where TeePublic is just going to mostly be t-shirts and stuff like that, but it's going to have all of the logos on. But they always rotate, so keep an eye on the other shirt sites to see what one pop up. Also on Pro Wrestling Tees and Brainbusters tees. And if you listen to this, make sure you hit the like and subscribe, as well as leave a 5-star review if you're listening to the audio on all your favorite podcast or music apps. Take a screenshot of the episode and tell me what you thought of it, and tag me on social media, and I will respond back to you and let you know. Well, first off, thank you for doing that, and we'll have a conversation about what you thought of the episode and maybe future questions you want to hear from Jorge. Without further ado, let's bring in my guest, the current, as of October 18th, 2023, current Spotlight champion at the Sanctuary, the one, the only, Jorge Guapo. I'm waiting for streamers to fly in. Yeah, you know what I mean? That's you know what's going to happen. You're going to go to another place besides the Sanctuary, and you're going to hit the ring, and you're not going to get a streamer, and you're going to be like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah. I ran around and gave high fives to make up for it. I was like,
yeah. So give the audience a quick idea. I kind of gave you a little bit of a bio, but reiterate for us. Tell us who you are and what you do.
I'm Jorge Guapo. I am a stunt fighter as of April 2023. I think it was April 24th. Whenever the Stampede was, that was my first day walking into the Sanctuary. And that was my first day debuting at the Sanctuary. I wrestled for a long time before that, amateurly. I wrestled since I was 10 years old. I used to wrestle at Full Tilt, was the first place I wrestled. And that was over on Vine Street. I thought I was going to go into a ring. I was excited. But my brother, he wrestled before me. He told me, no, it's not going to be like that. But I got there, and it wasn't no WWE. But
so it was amateur style wrestling.
I was excited, though. I liked it. And I had a tough coach, and he wasn't letting anybody quit anyways. So it's not like I had a choice. But ever since then, I loved wrestling. I watched WWE way before that. But aside from that, I am a nurse's assistant, and I'm in school for nursing. And that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. And then when I'm not doing, I'm down in the sanctuary.
So how long, when's your earliest memory of watching professional wrestling or becoming a fan of it?
I don't know so it was early in the morning. I think it was like a Tuesday, maybe an Act 80 day, or maybe I wasn't even in school yet. I might have been like 4 years old. That might be the time spectrum. I remember it was probably Tuesday. They were rerunning SmackDown, and my mom has it on. I think it was when SmackDown was on the CW, I believe. And it was JBL versus Rey Mysterio. And like, it was like a no DQ match. And I remember just Rey being busted open. And for some reason at the end, Bobby Lashley comes out, like, coming to help Rey. And their feud, I remember just seeing it go on. And I'm pretty sure that was the feud that he ended up retiring JBL, I believe. Yeah. And that was my earliest memory of watching wrestling.
There you go. Dating yourself a little bit, letting the audience know that you're a young boy. So was it always something that was in your head, like, this is what I want to do, this is something I want to pursue? Because the one thing we bust you about is you are definitely a professional wrestling super fan who is now early in his career, and you can smell it on you. You are the definition of a mark-turned wrestler, but you're earning your stripes because you are super athletic and you are passionate, but you are coming in and learning how to conduct yourself as from a fan to now a talent, which you're doing very well at. And not many people have the support that they have as early on as you in your career. So you're hitting something that a lot of people don't experience right away. Like some people go and do their first 5-6 matches or even their first year and a half. And if they're lucky, they get like a parent or a friend to come support you. But your family and friend group has been there in droves since the beginning, which is very exciting. And walk me through mentally how that motivates you. Is it something that you rise to the occasion for it, or is it something that you're like, I hope I don't go out there and mess up? Like, which one of those people are you?
I feel like it's a mixture of both. Of course, like I want them there. I'm somebody who is I don't know a good word for it. I would say maybe a little bit egotistical. I want people to see what I'm doing. I want people to be there.
If you're in the business, you need to have an ego. So there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
See what I'm doing. But I would say it's like you want everybody there until they're there. And then it's like, oh crap, now that everybody is here, I better perform or else maybe they won't come back. So that pressure, and that pressure has been there since amateur. Like if I saw my father come, he didn't come to anybody. If he was coming, I was like, oh boy, I better. I hear him in the crowd screaming, and I'm like, oh, I'm nervous now.
Yeah. It's one thing I will give a lot of respect to your fan base and everybody, just because I don't want them to beat me up and love me. The Torres family hates me. Yeah, they say I say bad things about them on commentary. I don't think I'm that terrible. You know what I mean? They definitely don't like me. They are not Team AVJ, but so if I can get the Jorge Guapo support, I'm good. You know what I mean? If streamers come up with commentary, I'll be fine with it. But the one thing I do enjoy about the fans at the Sanctuary for the most part is they stick around. You see a lot of times on wrestling, maybe the young guys coming in and everyone's excited for him to wrestle or perform, stunt fight, whatever the term may be at that point in time. And they wrestle 1 or 2 matches, or the second or third match in, they wrestle and the crowd leaves. And it sucks because then everybody else in the crowd's like, oh, that'd be cool if they supported the entire show. But that's not the case for your family, or even like the Torres family and the people who come to the Sanctuary to support others. They give just as much energy to you as other talent in the ring, and they found their favorites of like a Precious and a Rocket and stuff like that. And that it makes the overall show more fun. Like it's a great environment, and I'm very thankful for them to come in as much as they do and as big of a crowd as they do, and support not just you but the brand itself of Sanctuary.
Oh, I mean, I love that they come down, but I think if I wasn't wrestling, we found out about the Sanctuary when I came down.
Yeah,
I knew about it. We would have been down there watching wrestling because we go to events as often as we can. We got back into it like right after COVID, once they started having people come back. we started watching again. Because I was watching on, I think it was when Disney had rights to WWE during COVID, and I was like watching through one of my friends' accounts, and I was like watching all my old favorite feuds. I would watch. I didn't get to see too much of Eddie and Ray's feud. I'd always see flashbacks of it, so I wanted to go watch that. I started to get into that, and it was a rabbit hole. Now I'm going back to all the feuds that I used to like. Now I'm starting to chime in to like what's going on in WWE today, and I share it with like my friends or my family, and I'm like, yo, look at this. This is crazy. They're like, they're heating back up. Maybe it was just me feeling that way, but I thought, I'm like, oh, look, this is starting to like get cool again. And then my mom, she always loved it. Her father, I don't know if you know who Moose Cholak is, but you know how everybody's grandfather has a story of hanging out with Andre the Giant. Yeah. So he said that he was hanging out with Andre the Giant and whatnot, like when they would be down in Chicago, and he'd always be watching wrestling on Saturdays, and he'd be putting my mother in figure fours and whatnot. So he was like, my mom loved it from there. She passed it on to us. And a lot of the people that I invite, I'm selective with. Like, I know if they sort of like wrestling or they've at least liked it before, I invite them. So I feel like that's why they grasp to the Sanctuary so hard, because it's local. It's a bunch of good people down there. It's not like what you would expect. I don't know what you would think to expect, but it's not what you would expect of, that type of business. But everybody down there is so welcoming, and it's entertaining to be down there. When I got the Stampede, I came and sat with my family, and we were all so invested and excited. And I was more so like, I came right out just to be a fan right after watch the match that I was just in. I was interested.
Yeah. The independent scene in general is very much like you have that personal access, and small shows are a little smaller, and you get to have that intimate interaction at a show that you don't get to have when you go to the big shows like WWE. But I think the Sanctuary takes that and turns it to 11, because there is only so many capacity seats in there, and not many, and we are still growing that audience. So the fact that they come, like, if you're someone who comes all the time, you're part of our family. Like, you're part of our weekly tapings, and we're very appreciative of that. And we get to know you by name, and we get to know you for a person, and we get to feel like, oh, like, maybe I'm pulling back a little too much, but like when we make booking decisions, we're like, oh, people are going to react to this, because we're playing to a smaller crowd as well. And they're just as much part of the show, even if they're not aware of it, as the people that are performing. And it is cool to see it grow and the community getting behind it. And and this season has been a big turning point for people watching online, as well as people supporting in person.
Yeah, I definitely feel it when we are putting the matches together. There's spots specifically around the Sanctuary congregation. It's like, no, we have to do this because they're going to be here, and I'm like, of course. Yeah, and I feel it every time.
So growing up and watching it today, who are some, I know you kind of said some names like Rey Mysterio and stuff, but who are some names that you attach yourself to, or some people that you try to bring their style into your style and try to maybe pull from a little bit, or some people you that motivates you to do this in this business?
Well, I cried when Shawn Michaels was retired. I didn't get to see, the Heartbreak Kid back in the day, WWF, like with his big title run and whatnot. I got to see him when he was, the first time I saw him was WrestleMania 22 in that match with Vince, and they had that crazy, like, I think it was no disqualifications it was great. And their beef with the Spirit Squad. I love Shawn Michaels. Seth Rollins is a big one right now, because once I got back involved and watching, I was like, holy crap, this guy is the Joker. And I'm like, he's great. And he's my favorite wrestler right now, but I enjoy his babyface work, but I feel like it's a bit like, doesn't suit him as well. I feel like he needs a little bit more heel in it, a little bit more dirt. But, and I would say, if I had to put one more on that list, it depends when we're talking. Well, I would say two more. I'd put Randy and Roman Reigns. When
you first walked in to the Sanctuary, I looked at you. I was like, yo, this dude he has like a Santos Escobar feel to him. Like, He has a good build to him. He has a great look. He's a handsome kid. Everything about, I'm like, yo, this is like Santos Escobar. Like, we just got us, like, when the first day there, I was like, if he can do 10% of what he looks like, we have a star here.
Santos, I will say, before I went to the sanctuary, I fell in love with Santos. I was like, holy crap, who the hell is this guy? And now I'm studying him. Like right now is like, I'm waiting for his big push to say like that he's one of my favorites, because it's not like reputable, I would say, for WWE. NXT, he's the GOAT. He's up there. The Fantasma, he's great. His entrance, I would study it right before I did my first entrance. I was studying his entrances. Santos, he's what inspired me and made me think like I could go out and do that stuff too. I kind of look like this guy. Like exactly what you're saying is like was my mentality a little bit to help me go out there and put myself out there. I'm like, nah, these Mexican guys are doing it without a mask. These Mexican guys are doing it, and they can be like villains, but not like Alberto Del Rio. You don't have to be a rich cartel type of character to be a sort of villain. So that's what I wanted to be too. I didn't want to be a babyface. I wanted to be a villain, but
yeah. So it is tough to have you compare training because you are so new and you only really have that. The only thing you really know of is the sanctuary. But if someone who's never trained at the sanctuary, never been to the sanctuary, what is training been like and learning under people like Trotsky and Cowboy Billy Walker and J.S. Hawthorne and Andre Polino? What is that group like? What is that environment like from your perspective?
So my first day there, Trotsky got into the ring with me and he tells me, he's like, we signed the waiver. But then I get into the ring and he's like, can you do a bump? And I have my poncho on and I'm like, all right, I'm the bump. I didn't know how to do it. He showed me quick. He had Vince show me. He goes, all right, take a bump. And then I take one with the poncho on. I see a little bit like a little head shakes and they're like, okay, maybe, he'll be able to be within the ring today. And I think like I made 30 that night. Like we didn't have an extra person to come in. I'm pretty sure I that stampede. But that was my first experience, and that was they took care of me. They said, this is exactly what we have to do. We practiced it for like 30 minutes for a 30-second spot. So they took care of me. They made sure that what I needed to do is what I got done. I would say, Trotsky, he's in his stage that he is very verbal with me. He doesn't get too much into the ring with me, but he's very verbal with me. He spends hours and hours and hours spreading his knowledge that he has so much of on me. And, it's like, I didn't know people like that were within Hazleton. And the fact that he is, I'm taking advantage of that opportunity of someone that I didn't know and such a useful source of information and just everything. Like he has guided me. He's watched all my matches with me after the fact. He's very attentive towards basically everything that I need to know and everything that I could fix. He's always there with me. Training with guys like J.S. Hawthorne and Andre Paulino. I mean, number one, they learn from Walker. I get to learn from Walker as well. And he's hands-on in the ring. And
very hands-on.
Yeah. And that's exactly the style that like you watch Ahmed and like PJ Savage and guys like that. And it's like that realistic feel that, you feel it. And when you're in there with Walker, you feel it. When you see his facial expressions, you feel it. You feel it all. And that type of like just like aura when he's walking down into the ring, you feel it in the sanctuary. And that's something that is undeniable. And you have to like want to learn from something like that. And I'm lucky enough to learn from somebody like that. And that's like everything about his character, everything about the way he works in the ring and how smooth it is. You're trying to watch that when he's working with guys like Palco too. I like the way that Palco has helped me out while he has been there. He just came back in. I got at least like 2 or 3 trainings in with him. And, he's been working with me nonstop. And he has a hard work ethic.
Yeah,
he's up there. So like being,
and he's not going to bullshit you either. He's very like the face you see on Palco, that's Palco all the time. Like he's just like, hey, do that, don't do that. You know what I mean? Like he's a smart kid.
He's very smart. And but at first who it was me and Vince like putting in like these trainings. Like I was getting in to the sanctuary. I was like, hey, do you have a key? Can we get into the sanctuary and train at this and this time? Like it'd be random. But anytime that I asked, Vince Torres was like, yeah, come on. And that's how I was getting through these early matches that were with Vince Torres. That's why it made sense that I'm training with him and Precious and the other guys in Honor Society. And that's where like I was able to get through my first couple matches, and guys like Andre as well. Especially these last couple of months, Andre has been very helpful with me. Like he's come to my house, watch my matches with me, go to the sanctuary and train with me. And the same thing with like JS Hawthorne. Ever since I've been at the sanctuary, he's been playing back my matches with me, coming into the ring with me, showing me the role, showing me the basics of everything, and sharing stories with me of when he goes, because he's on the rise right now. It's not like he has much time to come over and teach us the things, because he's busy. He has things to do, and he's over there. But when he comes back to the sanctuary, he's giving us all that knowledge. He's telling us the experiences, and he's getting excited within himself, like of how he's doing, because he's doing very well. And I love the whole congregation. I love everybody at the sanctuary, and it's just been a very welcoming experience. I don't know if everybody goes through this their like first 6 months, but I've had like the best first 6 months that I think anybody could have.
Yeah, I like I said, I've never seen so much hands-on when it comes to training and aspect. I've only really get to see that so much at the sanctuary because of the way things are done there. It's helped me a lot. Like I went to a few training sessions and just kind of like played referee, and I just so I can be in there and see more from what you guys do in the ring, so I can translate that to commentary and better myself. But like I said, but we're always very grateful of not just like Trotsky and Walker, but we take it back even further. We if you look at the bodies and the people that they have been working with and the people they have helped morph and help become who they are in the business, and people who have walked through the doors of the sanctuary, we're very thankful for everyone who's ever walked through those doors, whoever walked in that ring and stunt fighted for that company, and say like, we hold that standard of like, yeah, Colby Carino has been here. This is Ace Austin's building. This is Jamie Senegal's building. Anthony Bowens has been here for a stint. Like, we don't take that lightly. We say like, these are names who have came in here, left their mark, left a piece of their energy within that wall, and we all channel it. We all look at that and it doesn't have to be people who have been on TV, like the Trajans, the Kit Rafts, you know what I mean? Like if you've been in that building and you leave a part of yourself there, and other people who've come in and they walk down that ramp, regardless if they even know who has been here before us. And we're very boastful. Like we'll say like, yo, you know who've been in here? Like this is exciting for us. You know what I mean? Because it's not a venue that travels. It stays where it is. It becomes it's its own character. Like we say, the sanctuary congregation. The sanctuary is in itself its own part of the show. It's important to us, and like you feel it when you walk in. It does have a different vibe and feel than anywhere else you're going to work.
The family over there, and it's a welcoming family. That's what it is. Anybody can join that family, but you feel it when you're in there. There is a certain, I know what you mean. Like there's a certain seriousness about the product. At the same time, we have so much fun while we're there. It's all about having fun, but having fun in an entertaining way, and to be entertaining, to be well thought out. And Trotsky, guys like you, Schultz, and Walker are always behind that. And with those four guys behind the show, it's going to be well thought out.
Listen, I even appreciate that I'm in the mix of all of those people, because I respect and love them very much. I try my best. I tried to bring something. Maybe it's overstepping. I don't know. I'm still kind of navigating it, but I don't want to just be the commentary guy. You know what I mean? Like I want to be a leader of that place. I try to conduct that. Like before every show, the intro music's playing, and I go through the back and I give everyone a dap. Hey, have a good show. Stay safe. Have fun. Love you. Let's have a great time. And I hit up both sides of the locker room. I hit up the production team, and then I go up and I just vibe and I get in my zone, and then it's time. You know what I mean? Like I feel like everyone brings that part to the sanctuary. I think we have a good time, but when the lights go out and the music hits, we're there. We're in the zone, and we get the job done. And whether 16 people watch it, or if 1,000 people watch it, or if one day 1 million people watch it, that doesn't matter. We're there to make art, and it's for us at the end of the day. And if people like it, then awesome. Welcome to our art.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, if I would have known about it sooner, I would have been down there because I haven't even went back and watched, but from the stories that people do tell, like at the sanctuary, remember when this happened, and you see their eyes light up, and you see like the way people talk about certain things that happened or certain storylines that could create storylines now, and the way people, the smirks that come up on their faces, and they're like, "This is great," and it's what matters to them. You could tell that it's like, it's not all inside jokes, but when there is inside jokes, it's just, you know, you feel the chemistry within everybody within those type of situations. You're like, oh, everything's easy going. You feel safe there, and that's what it's for, and that's what he's made it for, and that's what it is.
Yeah. Now you're still trying to find this yourself, but where does the name Jorge Guapo come from? Where did you pull this from? How did you create this? And what is your goal early on right now in your career to put, like, who is Jorge Guapo as a character, and how much of it is actually you as a person?
Jorge Guapo is, I'm trying to find out what it means for stunt fighting, what it means for the sanctuary. To me, my friend, you know how people would call themselves Rico Suave, or he's like, oh, that guy's smooth. You call him Ricky Smooth, you call him Rico Suave. But I was like, what would be like a cat? And this was like in 8th grade. I used to like try to rap battle people on the back of the sports bus, or I try to rap battle people at football games. And you can't go up as Jeremy Aquino. I'm not going up at, you have to have an alter ego. And that alter ego helps you write certain things or get into character. So when I was trying to go up and rap battle people who were like juniors in high school and I'm an 8th grade kid, I have to be Jorge Guapo when I go up. So I just picked that name because it reminds me of something like Rico Suave. But I was just like, what's a cool name? And I remember it like George Lopez. People always said my father looked like George Lopez. And I just always like correlated George Lopez, like he's part of my family almost. So when I thought Jorge, and I know that I'm handsome, I'm a handsome dude, and that there's stats to back it up. But the thing is, I'm a handsome.
There's stats to back it up.
The thing is, I just happen to be handsome. When I come into the congregation, everybody, it's a thing. The thing was, the guys, they feel some sort of way when I'd walk through in 8th grade. When I walk into the locker room, everybody stopped talking about what they were wearing and everything else, because Jorge Guapo walked through. That's why I wish I was a heel, because I could lead into it. It's more
Plenty of time left. Plenty of time.
Yeah, I guess it's more so like Jeremy. I'm not really that confident, but when I could make myself into a character, Jorge Guapo, he was like my confidence as I would like do certain things, like rapping in front of a bunch of people and just freestyling it. As a kid, it's like funny, but you still feel the pressure of it. So you try to go into like this alter ego. And that's the thing, like it's kind of like a mask. It's like a luchador's mask. It's what they would like hide behind. So I guess that character was more so like my confidence in high school. I would go and I would try to lead student sections, and like at the football games, I would paint my face all over. Ever since I was like in 7th grade till I was a senior, I'd love to go to student sections, be Jorge Guapo, and get everybody involved. And that's what you see kind of at the sanctuary that reflects now. It's always been kind of, I wanted to be like a leader towards people into getting them happy and to getting them into a good mood. It was always for entertainment.
And I got to experience that with you very early on. So you came in, you did your first rumble, and you did your own, like it was only a couple second spot. Then you were leading into your next couple show, and around that time, that's when I really latched on myself with that younger crowd at the sanctuary, you and the Honor Society, because you guys were all hungry, and I was like, all right, listen, like the ball's in your court now. The Andres and the JS Hawthorns, like they did their time. Like they're gonna go on the road. They can't put as much as they wanted to, and they still do. Like I'm not saying they're not there. Like Hawthorne is still there before everybody. Andre's there, and when he can, right after work, like dead tired. They're definitely not relinquishing that role yet at the sanctuary, but it's your guys' time now as those new students and those new people to come in and hold that down. And you have been like with the social media and making graphics and putting posters up and flyering the town. And the first thing I kind of really experienced with you guys is we went down for Cinco de Mayo, and we went down to downtown Hazleton. And man, you went down, we all had masks on and we were all having a good time and sunglasses, and we were all decked out, and people were like, who are these people? Like we stood out. And and you just took to it. You were like in front of a crowd. You're like, this is what I do. And you went up and you took the microphone from the band and you cut a promo in Spanish and you said to everyone, like, come to the sanctuary and here's what we're doing. And I was like, this kid, that's like, there's no shyness if there's a large, like you thrive with a bigger crowd. Like that's kind of where you are. And I was like, it impressed me. It definitely impressed me.
If we're talking origin stories and whatnot, it's definitely like from sports, from when I'm a kid in sports. I was a decent wrestler, but the thing was, I was always worried about the crowd. I was always worried about doing a big move for the crowd, and I would fuck myself sometimes. I don't know if I'm allowed.
No, you can curse. Yeah, you're a showman.
Real bad sometimes because, and like if you go and talk to my coaches, and I had great coaches back in high school, and I worked with a great team, and they would always tell me the same thing. It's like, stop trying to do the flashy stuff, like, because it's not getting you anywhere. You're losing points. But I was there for the crowd. I was there for a big highlight reel move that I could post on my Instagram and like talk about. But the thing was, like, when it came to very serious matches where we had to get down and get to it, it was my fireman's carry. I'm in a tie-up and I'm trying to work on top. I'm not trying to do anything flashy. But it took a lot of maturity, because that's the only reason I ever wanted to wrestle, was to be entertaining. The only reason I ever wanted to do any sports is to be entertaining, be on those highlight reels that you would watch on YouTube as a kid. That's all I watched as a kid, was like highlight reels. And I was like, I want a moment. Everybody wants a moment. And I guess more so like that's where that comes from. Like my attachment to like get onto the moment. Everybody's watching you. It's like because of that. It's because, okay, this is the time that maybe everybody is looking and that I could have that moment. It's all about like entertaining. And that's also like what I do at work too. What I do at work, it's because I love taking care of people, but it's because I want to be the best person to take care of you. If this is a high pressure situation where it's like you need somebody to lean on, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be the best person for it. That's like that work ethic for it. And it's with whatever. It could be anywhere from being a nurse's assistant to being in front of a bunch of people having a good freaking match. We're beating the hell out of each other. It was all, and yeah.
I think you just gave me a character arc for you that I'm going to lean on in commentary. Is you live or die by the sort of entertainment. Whether if you're going to lose a match, it's because you're going to try to do something flashy and you're going to try to showboat a little bit, but you're going to try not so much showboat, but you're giving people their money's worth, and it may or may not cost you the match or not. Like, I think that's a cool dynamic to your character that you're yeah, and that's the thing. Like your coaches may hate it and your fan base may hate it, but if it's kind of like the Showtime kick for Anthony Pettis. If it lands, you're a hero. If you mess it up, you look like an idiot. You know what I mean? And I think that would be a good character trait for you as a stunt fighter, is like, you may make a mistake and get a roll up and lose a match, but at the end of the day, you tried something you should or shouldn't have. But the second you do land something cool, people are going to be like, that's why we love him. You know what I mean?
That's what it is. And that's what made people, I always watch my matches back, and you hear the crowd like, Russell Smart, Jeremy Russell Smart here. But then I would do some funky stuff. Ben Askren created the funk, and I loved it. It was a dive at an ankle. Instead of sprawling and actually defending, you would let the guy get your leg. Let him get so deep in on your leg, he's going to take you down. And then you grab his ankle and you roll it. It looks flashy, and you put him on his back, and the whole crowd, there you get a pop. I didn't know that I lived for a pop my whole life, but that's what it was. And that's what I lived for. I remember there was this like one time that I was doing wrestling before I got into stunt fighting. And that was, we were wrestling at Penn State Altoona, and it was a big tournament. It was probably like 32 teams. 32 teams brought 16 weight classes apiece. And they're from guys from Virginia, New York, and whatever. And Penn State Altoona's gym is, it's gorgeous. They have like a Megatron, or a Jumbotron, and they have like, it's just a bunch of seats. These seats were filled up. There's probably like I would say like 2,000 people. And like, no joke, there's 2,000 people to watch the finals of this wrestling tournament, because it's a big freaking, I think it was called the Sheets Holiday Classic. That's what it was. And I got out early on. I don't think I placed at that tournament. I was fucking around, and I was trying to do big moves. I got out. I went two and out. But I remember another kid went 2 and out. And They have one when in wrestling tournaments, they start out with the whole gym filled up with mats. It's like 8 mats and then a bunch of wrestling going on, whistles all over. It's very confusing. You have to lock in like mentally.
It's like the best way I can describe it, because I was getting into watching amateur wrestling because it's a very fun sport to watch, and I got into it more because I was becoming an MMA fan, and I was like, man, all MMA's base is mat wrestling, so I wanted to learn it. But it reminds me of like if you watch poker on TV, the World Series of Poker, there's 100 tables, and then as more people get eliminated, it comes down to the final table, and all those other tables don't matter anymore, and now all eyes are on that one.
Oh yeah, and that's where like that entertainment style comes in. Like as much as it's like amateur wrestling, when you come down and it's like a parade of champions and they're announcing your record, your age, like what you have done in the past, like it's crazy. And they have the spotlight following you down. You come walk up, you're waiting in the center of the mat. They announce the other kid, you both shake hands and you run. And the next time you see each other is when you shake hands to wrestle. So it's right now, it's like warm-ups, and we're like the kids are warming up and whatnot. They're getting ready for the parade of champions. Everybody's in the bleachers, and there's a couple kids on the mat. And I don't know why, but we did. Me and my friends start little test of strength. We get in, test of strength. We're rolling around, and we're just doing stuff like that we've seen on TV before. Before we know it, everybody like clears out, and it's just me and him in the ring. And we're like, oh shit. So I don't know. I think I like quick give him a kick to the stomach. I hoist him up. I sit out, power bomb him, and I hear the whole crowd. There's so many people. 1, 2. I'm looking over. I think my coach is gonna be pissed, and I see him. He's going 1, 2, and I'm like, oh shit. And I'm sitting there. The kid kicks out, and I'm like, oh. I stand up. Some kid comes running all the way down from the bleachers. He gives me an RKO. Bang. I find this perfect time to run out, and I left. And they eventually end up getting yelled at. Like, they're like, all right, guys, calm down. But for that moment, and for that false finish, I felt it. And I knew, like, from then on, I'm like, oh, I wish I could try this shit. And my coaches always did tell me, if you would practice as much as you would fuck around doing that WWE stuff, you would be half decent. And I was like,
whoops. So how did you find the sanctuary? Like, how did you stumble across it? How did you find out that it existed?
So being a nurse's aide, I got my brother into being a nurse's aide, DJ Dito, he's taken over. But we'll get into that. But DJ Dito, he also works over in Weatherly sometimes. So sometimes when you're working on the floor, a resident may have an appointment, and that resident may need assistance on that appointment in case they got to, do whatever at the appointment. So they'll say to any aide on the floor, they're like, hey, who wants to go on this appointment? And a lot of people are like, no, I don't want to go on an appointment. I don't want to be stuck. I came to work, whatever. Going on an appointment isn't too bad. You get to ride in the van. You get to talk to the residents. So my brother's like, I'll go on the appointment. And I was actually looking around at a lot of schools. I was going to a couple events nearby Hazleton, like things that used to be in Hazleton and whatnot. I'm going to see them in different places. And so my brother brings that up to the guy who's driving the van to go to the appointment. And the guy goes, why are you going all the way up over here? Why are you going all the way up over there? You said you live in Hazleton. Why don't you go down to the sanctuary? And he goes, the what? And he's like, I used to wrestle there. I used to be over here and over. I don't remember exactly where he said he used to wrestle before the sanctuary. He goes, but I wrestled at the sanctuary. He goes, take your brother down to that place, see what's going on. He's like, I'm pretty sure.
Do you know his name?
No. And that's the thing that like is so, it gets us so upset because I brought it up to people at the sanctuary and everybody says that. Do you know his name? And I'm like, we're trying to find him. We're waiting to go on another appointment to find this guy. But
yeah.
So
dude, the word of mouth is so important to everything. If you're an artist or you're making stuff, man, word of mouth is what to get. Like, kind of the pullback. This is recorded in October. I just had the coolest word of mouth experience the other day. Like, Brian Cage of AEW seen one of my podcast clips, video recorded it on his phone and put it on his Twitter. And it has 41,000 views. And Sean Ross Sapp, who's like the Dirt Sheet King, retweeted it. Like, just word of mouth. It can change someone's life. Like, on social media, showing up to an event, just saying someone like, yo, I went there the other day, it was cool. you can change the dynamic of a building. And I mean, that guy telling you about it and then you showing up and then bringing your family has changed the sanctuary this season. Like one word of mouth spun. Yeah, it's crazy.
One appointment. Somebody who needed to go on an appointment is the reason that I ended. And it's crazy. It was perfect timing. I came like it was literally 3 days before the Stampede that I heard about it. And then I texted and I kept blowing them up and I kept getting the automated responses from the sanctuary's Facebook page. And I'm like, come on, dude. I want to get down there. Finally, Trotsky got back to me. He was like, I was like writing paragraphs. I'm telling him, I used to be an amateur wrestler. I'm getting back into it through COVID. I was marking it up. I was like, please let me come wrestle. Because everybody else was, I don't know, they were too far, or there was a lot of people I texted beforehand and they told me find a school and then come talk to us. Because I was texting promotions and people that I saw were putting on shows, and nobody wanted to find me a trainer or help me even find a trainer. And the sanctuary took me in with open arms, and that's why a big reason that I'm loyal to the sanctuary. And before I do go anywhere else, it's always an okay from what's going on at home, because that's home base. And that's where I feel comfortable right now. And aside from all that, that's where all my friends are. I did this before, but it's fun to put on shows with your friends. It's pressure, but it's a good time. It's fun.
Yeah, listen, man. I think you have a super bright future, and I think you're insanely talented. But I'm going to be the first one to tell you, and I'll tell it to people like Andre and JS Hawthorne and everything out there. Find other schools. Go and make those connections. Go and get those training sessions. Like you're young, and if you have a day that you can go and there's not a booking at the sanctuary, go to a 3 Legacy show. Go to Catch Point. Go to Worldwide Dojo. You're making these connections, because here's the thing. Just recently, we had a few people from Catch Point show up. We've had people from Worldwide Dojo show up. We've had people from Create a Pro show up. You know what I mean? Monster Factory show up. We've had people who come. Make those connections. Find out through them, hey, can I come up for a day and train, a day training? Can I just come up and support a show and work ring crew or do whatever I got to do? Get your name out there. Start finding people. You know what I mean? And that's the thing too, is Hawthorne's going out there and doing that. But then people are like, yo, where did you get so goddamn good? And where did you train? And he goes, sanctuary. And then people will come to the sanctuary because we sell it hey, first Fridays, bro, anyone can show up. And if there's something you want to work on, or there's a match you always wanted, but you can't get anywhere else, come on a first Friday and let's get it in and let's have some fun. And it spawns that.
Come on a first Friday. If there's a title you ever wanted, come on a first Friday, because I'll be. No,
get that Mummers title. Get that Mummers title.
What's a mummer?
Oh, you don't know what mummers are. So all right. So I want to do this on the fly. So the mummers they're like a marching band thing out of the Philly area, and they look like peacocks, man. They wear these giant outfits, and they wear all these crazy extravagant clothing, and they play brass instruments, and it's I'm not going to go through the whole history of the mummers here. Everyone, you got to go do your own research, but it's kind of a mix between it looks like Mexican culture meets Mardi Gras meets all of this, but it's their downtown. They used to do it locally here, but they're just these really, really flashy performers who go out and dance at parades and everything like that. I'll pull it up now, but they're very known and famous for during the Super Bowl, Jason Kelce won when they won the Super Bowl. He wore a mummer's outfit when he did his Super Bowl speech. So this is what he wore.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And then this is also another mummers thing, but they look like Aztecs. You know what I mean? It's a cool little history to learn about, but it's a thing that they do in Philly all the time. But that's what you're assuming.
In fact, me and Trotsky Trotsky and Vince, we went up to a little the Mexican event the Mexican Independence Day event over at Community Park in Hazleton. And they had, if those are mummers, then they had mummers over there. And Trotsky was like, you need to get that as gear. You need that as gear to come out. So that was basically my first like incorporation of that kind of gear, it was like the feathers. That was the base idea for the title. When I got it.
When it comes to your heritage, and it is very important to you and as also your character, what do you lean on when it comes to that? Because I don't want to assume, but you also come from like a biracial family as well.
My mother's Puerto Rican, but she was born in Chicago. Both of her parents were born in Puerto Rico. And my father, he was born in Mexico and lived in Mexico up until he was about 21, I believe. And that's when he came up to New York. And basically, I don't remember anything from New York. All my cultural background comes from playing soccer at the community park, working at certain places that the Mexican population is a little bit higher. It was more so like just being with kids in school and learning about my heritage, being friends with my other Mexican friends is basically where I get my heritage from, because other than my father being Mexican, I don't have any family out here. I don't have any, like, nobody. We are the only, like, from my mom's side and my dad's side, there is no cousins within like a 100-mile radius. It is just us. So it was my dad basically playing his music, taking us to certain like soccer events or Mexican restaurants or just other Mexican friends when we go over to a cookout or something. That's where it all comes from. But I've never been to Mexico. I've never been to Puerto Rico. It's I've been to Chicago and I've been to New York, and that's where I go to see my family. But
yeah. You know who you should hit up? She's someone I've been friends with for a very long time. I think I kind of introduced you a little bit to her at that event in Cinco de Mayo. She's Mexican descent, and she's a rapper. Her name is Miss Lily. She's very, very good. She actually was like on like Americans Got Talent, but like the Mexican version of it, and she went very far. Like, reach out to her and see if she has a song that like you can vibe to, and like,
you think she
bring in the local Mexican culture into your entrance music and use her. Like, she's super dope. Like, I'm a good friend of her.
Survival.
Yeah,
she'd sing a song.
Yeah, she's so talented that it's something we can maybe look at in the future for you.
That's what I've been trying to incorporate. I've been waiting for like a First Friday or something just to like bring some of the local, like I said, Gerardo, DJ Dito, he started out doing podcasts in our garage, literally like a block from here. He started out doing podcasts there, and he would just do local rappers in Hazleton, Wilkes-Barre, Williamsport. He was just getting them to come up, and he was putting on a whole like, he would call it NEPA Fest. He would go up in the Strand, rent it out, and have like 10, 12 rappers perform back to back to back. And I wanted to just like incorporate that to the sanctuary, where those come to the sanctuary and walk out each one of the performers with their own song. And it's a way to promote them. It's a way to promote us. It's a way to promote Dito. It's a way to promote ABJ. It's a way to promote Jorge Guapo. It's everybody. Everybody wins.
That's the beautiful thing, man. I remember when you guys first came in, he was like, I don't really want to do the wrestling thing, but this is what I like to do. And I was like, there's a spot for that here, man. Like, interview talent. Like, just because I do it doesn't mean you can't. Like, use that on your platform. Get the name out there. I'm not trying to be the only one talking to independent wrestlers. The more people that can do it and get that name out there, that's beautiful. I can't wait to have him on this podcast soon. I'm gonna have him on, and if that opens up the door for me to interview more rappers in the Northeast scene and more musicians, I'm down for that. You know what I mean? Like, I lean on the wrestling side of things, but I'm open for anybody. This is not a closed set. This is not closed for just independent wrestling. Like, I want to experience everybody, you know.
Have you seen his little interviews that he does outside of local bars and whatnot?
Yeah.
So he wants to do those like post-match interview, like right outside the sanctuary. And I feel like us getting posted on there, he has 33, I think, 0.6 as of right now, followers on Instagram. And they're all local, because not local like right here, but all Pennsylvania pretty much. So that would be gas. That would be very, very
fun.
I
recorded something with him recently. I'm waiting for it to air. I'm excited to see how it goes, because he's seeing what's trending, and he sees the trend. Like, there's people out there who see trending stuff and just rip it, right? but he sees trending stuff and says, how can I put my flavor to it? And I love that about him. And I think that's what makes him stand out.
Yeah. I promise you, every single day. That's the thing about DJ Dito. And if he does get involved in wrestling, it means a lot for my character because he has a new idea how to get traction to his social media every single day. He has a new idea every single day. And whether it's recycling an old idea and putting his own little spin on it. And he calls me about these things. I have like 30-minute calls with him almost every single day about a new idea that, he just has to get off his chest. He has to get off his mind because he's flowing with ideas all the time. And this has been for almost 3 years straight that he has a new idea every day.
Yeah.
And that's why he's getting so much traction. And that's something that all pro wrestlers could take from. It's like social media is a huge part of everything right now. And being big on social media it could mean bookings nonstop. If somebody sees the following that you have, they want to be posted on it.
Dude, one of the things that I might not get the credit for it, and you know what I mean, but it's one of the things I started bringing to the table when I first got into the wrestling scene. I was like, when I first got into like content and what I wanted to do when I started doing this, I essentially just said like, here's the 5 or 6 things I'm into, and I'm going to lean into them, and I'm going to try to get into those scenes and learn about the scenes and learn from the independent up. And I started with the music scene. I can't play instruments. I can't sing. I can't rap. I can't dance, but I love music. So I started the independent music scene and I started interviewing bands. I like beer, and then the craft beer scene, which is like independent beer. I started interviewing beer people. And the more I started diving into these different cultures and different scenes and different ways of doing things, and then the wrestling thing started popping off. Yeah. I was taking what I was learning of how bands get booked and how they raise their stock and how to grow and how they get big on social media. And then I started looking how the craft beer scene did things. And then I was like, then I got into wrestling and then I started learning that aspect, and I started molding everything together and like, how can I stand out and be me, and then take everything I learned from these different venues and avenues and put them together, but also be like, why couldn't there be wrestling at a brewery? Why can't a live band play before a show or after a show? And then the band brings in their people. They all love wrestling. Like every time you put beer and wrestling together and you have people who are not wrestling fans, but they go there to enjoy beer and then they see pro wrestling, they mark out. They love it. They're like, yeah. The inhibitions are lower. They want to engage more. And it's just like, I've always been putting it out there since I started. Like, there shouldn't be a reason why when you go to a beer fest, there can't be wrestling there. There's not a reason why when you go see wrestling, a band can't be playing right between if the 30 minutes that you're waiting while the crowd's coming in, be like, hey, the show starts at 7, but at 6 o'clock, we're going to have a band do 2 or 3 songs, like a set or 2, and bring people, and then you have that band bringing their audience, and then like it intermingles everybody, and then you're bringing in more local art and local talent and local people to one venue, and everyone reaps the benefits of it.
But we need to as a community throw something in Hazleton, I say 2024, that has music, that has beer, that has wrestling, that has stunt fighting.
Yeah.
Anything a lot, like I feel like all those people, it is the same thing. It's just doing something on your free time for entertainment, and it's sharing your art, and that could even be your art could be your personality and how you express yourself on your free time. That also is art. Just having a personality and being able to conduct the vibe in a certain room is art. Like, and that's the same thing with music. That's the same thing with, I feel, just being a person and being, it's being a character, but everybody is their own character. Everybody is their own little, and whether you like to admit it or not, you're playing a character, because if everybody did and said what they felt, it wouldn't be a pretty world. But
I get in trouble sometimes. I'm not one to bite my tongue. You've learned.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is,
someone's disrespected my family. Yo, let's go to war. Like that, my Italian Irish kicks in real quick.
You have to play a character then too, because as much as maybe I don't want to be the antagonist or be like, you said something, come over here. Like, you're not going to say that about my family. Then you have to play the mean, evil, freaking the Lion King. And that's a character you have to play.
I just don't know how much of my character is what I'm here now and when on the bubbly side, or how much of it is when I'm angry. You know what I mean? Like,
it depends on the audience. It depends on the rating of what's going on.
Yeah. So, Jorge, where can people find you on social media? This is a terrible question because we talked beforehand. You still have to build that up.
So as we just talked before, I just changed my Instagram to Jorge Guapo 570.
Thank you.
Me there. I will be coming out with a page on Facebook that would be labeled Jorge Guapo. I'm gonna get that going. And
Twitter.
No.
You should definitely. When it comes to the independent wrestling scene, Twitter is a good place to be.
I have a Twitter, but I get too vulgar on Twitter. I would have to make a new Twitter. Make
a new Twitter.
Yeah.
Jorge Guapo on Twitter. Whatever it is, the links will all be below when it's all made and said and done.
You remember TBHs, how people used to post TBHs?
Yeah.
I used to do that on Twitter, but TBRs, the to be rudes. So I'd have to make, because I'll get canceled or something.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Old tweets. No one go look up his old Twitter account. But man, thank you so much for this. I appreciate you so much. That you're very young in your career and the future is bright. Go out there and get that reps in, man. Go reach out to the Ricardo Rodriguez. Like literally within a 3 to 4 mile radius or 3 to 4 hour drive from where you are right now in Hazleton, there is so much out there. Like you can hit up the Ricardo Rodriguez's, you can hit up world famous CB, Catch Point Wrestling, Creative Pro in New York, Johnny Rod's up in New York. You know, go up there and get some reps in with Billy Walker. The world is your oyster in this Northeast wrestling scene, and go get it. You know what I mean? And the more you go out there, don't think you're not being loyal to the Sanctuary, because the more you go out there and get your name, people are going to say, where did you get this base from? And that's when you say the Sanctuary, and then be proud of that. You know what I mean? It's being stuck in your 20-mile bubble is not going to help you grow. And especially, you know, you're looking at the world of Nick Wayne's and Billy Starks and Jordan Oliver's. You don't have to wait till you're 20, 30, 40 years old to think you've paid your dues. Go start paying them now.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I love having you being the voice of my career, and I'm definitely going to get out there. So if you're watching this and you want Jorge Guapo on your show, you let me know, because I'm here, baby.
Jorge Guapo, Rico Suave. He's got the stats to prove it. We'll see you guys next time on the ABJ podcast. Here is some music by the Converse Kid.